Just want to make sure everyone's okay and they know how they should navigate through the offseason. Braun, Kratz, Trevor, Mayday. So, Trevor, I got a text this morning from frantic friends and family members back in the Northeast.
Okay.
And, you know, they'll do this. They'll send me some random Instagram account and they'll say, Scott, please confirm. So I'm not going to out the name because it could be, you know, a 12-year-old who's done a lot of good work and they've built up a nice following. But developing industry sources close to the situation are now indicating it's a done deal, and writes about Soto to the Mets, and it's the largest in MLB history. And want to be very clear here. I'm not saying it's 100% finished and a done deal, just hearing Soto will be signing with the Mets for over $700 million. And I wrote back to my friends in the chat and said, well, I said something mean, so I'm not going to say that part. But then I said, watch. I said, watch, in 2 months, this account will say, see, told you I had it 2 months early.
Yeah. I would have just said big if true. That's what I would have said. That would be crazy if it were real. That's the nature of, is this a tweet or this Instagram you said?
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah, it's an account. They've got a decent following, but it's a team account. It's a Mets team account, not official Mets team account, a fan account.
A fan account, got it.
But I'm like, geez, like, don't you, I mean, if you build up all this credibility and this following, people will never forget if you did something like this if you are wrong. So by all means, I'm not telling the world that only Ken Rosenthal can break the news. I'm not saying that by any means. But make sure you're in pretty good shape when you're trying to break a story of this magnitude.
You got to be right, I think, a bunch of times in a row to get the social contract written with the public so that they trust you. But so if you mess it up once, you're not getting it back. It's not how that works. So yeah, I mean, bold move. But again, we live in a world with get there first, yell the loudest, and have the most capital letters in your title. So I don't know. I don't know what the goal is here, but if they're true, that's pretty big. If that's true,
yeah, the goal is to break news. And Kratz, you definitely have to have a joke here. There's got to be something stewing in your brain.
I got nothing. Nobody knows where Juna Soto's signing yet. So, and first person I'm watching, I have alerts on for my boy Morosi because he is always on top of it and
stop,
super correct.
I worked with JP for years. I do feel bad in parts. He's a nice guy.
I don't think it's his fault.
No, it's not his fault. Well, I mean, to an extent. I mean, he got a bad source or whatever happened last year with Ohtani, but that is the point, is that you just really have to be careful. And also, we're not trying to toot horns here. Like Ken Rosenthal on his Fair Territory show has talked multiple times about one or two mess ups in his freaking life. You know, I think there was a Scherzer story. He's talked about it, so you can listen to it on the show. And I'm like, Ken, all right, you got two kind of off out of 2,000. So I'm not, you know, those guys have built up credibility. Obviously, Ken is leading the pack. But when you're like a random team account and you're not breaking news, and then you're going to throw that one out there, I'm just saying no one's ever going to look at you the same again. You know, like over that one thing, they're never going to take anything else you put out there as news seriously. So, and I don't think it's a parody account. So just throwing that out there. Let's charge the damn mound.
He's charging the mound.
Things that are true. Let's begin. Wilson Contreras is going to essentially be a first base DH for the St. Louis Cardinals. And Trevor, I'll let you start here, but I actually think this is awesome. I think they nailed it. And I think some people are being critical. And I'm like, Wilson Contreras is a good bat. And if he's not up to framing capabilities, am I missing something? Some people are really critical. Oh, they shouldn't have signed him, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, damn good bat, and could be even better if he doesn't have to worry about catching.
Yeah, this might be a little bit of a spillover from Cardinals have the Cardinals fans have a really healthy respect for the catching position and having a catcher that's their north or their compass for their team, and they had that for a very long time. So any question mark going into the catcher position, I think is something that they're a little bit hesitant to get behind. But that with Goldie very likely moving on, the position's open. He does rake, especially when he's healthy. So if you can keep him healthy, I think that bat will pay off, especially if he's not Yadier Molina behind the plate. So like if the defense is struggling a little bit, or if he's not framing the way he needs to frame and it's just not in the cards anymore, there's still a lot of value to get from this guy. So I don't think it's given up. I just think it's a smart move. I'm with you. I think I'm behind it.
I mean, maybe they shouldn't have signed him as a catcher. Like I think other teams passed up on him the year before when he was on the trading block. Nobody wanted him to catch, and I think it's been a tenuous like time during his tenure behind the dish. He lost his job, and then wait. 10 days later, he didn't lose his job. We were just trying to mix some things up. Then he was calling pitches that guys didn't have. Nobody's going to deny the dude rakes. And I think the Cubs were getting the most value out of him when they weren't putting him behind the dish. But ultimately, that's where his value is. And I'm in the boat that I don't know that they should have signed him to be a catcher. But if you have a guy that is making $18 million and he has a OPS plus of, what was his OPS plus last year? 136 for $18 million a year at first base. I don't hate that. I don't hate that value. I mean, we're going to start to see what first base value really is. And I think you also can't discount the fact, and obviously I'm biased because I'm looking at the backup catcher and who's going to be fitting in there. Pages' framing numbers aren't that great either. So you sit there and you go, they do need to value that because it is a huge value in the for any team, but you also can't value it compared to what Yadier Molina did when he was there. You have to evaluate it based on what is available out there on the market, and you need to go and hire Kyle Higashioka, and he would add a ton of value to your organization.
Yeah, it's a good call. I mean, I don't know if they'll do that just because it sounds like they're in rebuild mode, so it's not going to necessarily matter. But Goldie's gone. Contreras to first. Good athlete. Remember, he's done a little bit of outfield in the past. I know he hasn't done it recently, but he's a good athlete. I think he'll be fine at first base. I mean, we just talked about Soler as one of the first deals here. Contreras is a better bat than Soler. You're playing him at first in DH. I think he's fine. I mean, I know some people online. I mean, even Buster Olney, said, monster mistake for a team restrained in its spending. I'm like, I don't know about monster mistake. If he didn't hit it all, 136 OPS plus, and he's consistently put up good offensive numbers. And if he's healthy, I think he could have a career year at the plate without having to worry about being a catcher because that was not his strong suit. He can block and throw, Kratz, but the framing wasn't there anymore or ever.
He could throw, but then the Cardinals, they kind of lost their way with holding runners too, and his throwing went down. There was years when he was listen, the scouting report was always run on him, but no, he will be able to throw you out. Very inaccurate, would throw to the bases a ton. I think he led the league in pickoffs. I don't know how many times. He would pick dudes off all the time. The dude is a gamer, and I do love moving him away from behind the dish. I think if you're going to say massive mistake, maybe I think the signing was a massive mistake, but I don't think this is a massive mistake for the team going into next year. I think you have a position filled. You have a position filled that it's going to be cheaper to fill the catching position with more value. And I still think they're going to try to win, but they're going to try to break it down too if there's value there. Trading Arenado, trading Helsley in his last year, different things like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best bats already when you put him at first base in the league. 136 OPS plus plays at first base. I mean, if he's a free agent right now and he's just playing first base and he's playing an average first base, I mean, I without looking real quick, Pete Alonso and Christian Walker are probably in a similar range in terms of OPS plus. So, and
yeah, but Brandon Belt didn't get a job. Brandon Belt didn't get a job. He had a 138 OPS plus. Crickets.
Well, he needs to come on the show so we can talk about what happened there. Because if he got 0 offers, I'm very confused about collusion or something weird happened there. Alonso was 123 OPS plus this past season. And I think the major mistake, as I'm finding, Christian Walker was 121 OPS plus. So Contreras, just on that number, I know there's other numbers. Contreras had a better year. at the plate, and I know he missed a good chunk of time, but still, I mean, I'm saying I think his bat plays really well. It's a well above average bat. My last thing here is, Trevor, I think the mistake was just saying, oh, this is going to be our Yachty replacement and not realizing how much they were going to miss him. But I think that would have been the case for just about anyone, because Yachty was so ingrained in the fabric of the organization. They were getting away with things that they shouldn't have gotten away with just because Yachty was so damn good.
Yeah, they didn't have to worry about the position for a long time. So, and to be honest, at the time, for what was available in order to fill those shoes, I mean, Contreras was one of the best options. I mean, there was no reason to think. We knew he wasn't Yachty, but like they had seen him a lot. They played against him in his whole career in the division. He's arguably the second best catcher in the division, so might as well go get him. And I don't hate the move, but if you're trying to get some value back for a guy who has to move from the position that you're really hoping he could fill, this is the best case scenario. You can still get you fill in a spot that's now about to be empty from another guy who was a big deal over there, and possibly getting some even better production with the bat. So, I mean, I just like, if you, of all the options on the table without him catching, this is the best one. So that's why I don't really hate it. I can't fault anyone for making the decision.
Yeah, and also, it sounds like he wants to stick through the transition period, and there's conversations going on with guys who have no trade clauses there right now. But if he does happen to get traded at some point during this rebuild for the Cardinals, his value should be higher as a first base DH. It's tough to trade catchers midseason, especially a catcher like him. You're usually making sure you're really tight on the defensive side, Kratz. So if he's got a 145 OPS plus this year, they might be able to convince him to join a contender and be like, yo, dude, your trade value is really high. I mean, we love you, but we'd love to somehow get some nice assets back for you. I think it's possible. Trade value is going to be higher that way.
I think league consensus was he wasn't a good catcher. And I mean, what you said, Trevor, I don't know that he was the second best catcher in the division. I just think he was an electric catcher. Let's put it that way. But the things that he did behind the dish, I was really surprised when the Cardinals signed him to catch every day. But what you said, Scott, is spot on. If you're going to get value from somebody, and if he says now, yeah, I'll be here through the rebuild. Okay. Like, if the team can get value for this guy, if the team can get, like, let's say the Christian Walker, Pete Alonso sweepstakes are over, and the team's like, man, what's the next first baseman at the trade deadline? It's much easier to move Wilson as a first baseman than Wilson Contreras as a catcher. Because his brother's starting to get kind of the same moniker on him, in the sense that extremely talented, tons of defensive value, but really has to lock into his position as a catcher, working for the other pitchers and not just working for himself.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we'll see. And I know there's a lot of no trade clause conversations going on with the Cardinals right now, and Nolan Arenado and others too, to see. They could be very fascinating. They could unload some pretty big names this offseason. But anyway, let's swing back with a World Series champ. We've got Alex Vesia of the Dodgers making his FT debut next on the show. Well, I'm really company man today.
I mean, I had the same shirt on. I saw you walk across the screen, and I'm like, there's no way that you're wearing one of the more comfortable shirts out there, and you get to sip on this John too. Like,
yep. Shout out to Huel, support for FT, brought to you by the world's #1 complete nutrition brand. 15% off with the code FOUL at Huel.com, or you can hit the QR code bottom of the screen. This is a sponsor that makes this show happen, and this is a sponsor that makes me less hangry, because I way overstack my mornings, and then I show up and get myself seated and realize that I made some mistakes, and I'm all of a sudden going to AJ's mini fridge and grabbing his Black Edition Vanilla Huel.
I think it's like $1.52 a bottle. And my son's going off to college. And you start thinking about, how are you going to be able to make sure they're always getting food? They're on their own. Like, to just make sure buy a case of these. Buy a case of whatever your kids going to college, buy a case, just have them, because then you're always going to have some type of nutritional meal to have right there that you can just take, forgot to eat, bang it, and then walk into class.
Yep. So let's let everyone know one more time, then we'll get to Alex Vesia on FT. There it is. Use the code FOUL at Huel.com. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, all in one handy bottle with the Huel Black Edition. Go check it out. Hit the website. Let us know what you think. 1 minute away from Vesia. Hey, Dodgers reliever Alex Vesia is a World Series champion, and he's joining FT for the first time. Alex, great to have you on. Congratulations on being a world champ, and welcome to FT, man. How has life been over the past week?
Thank you guys for having me. This has been unbelievable. Honestly, can't even describe it. Obviously the past 3-4 days I've been able to kind of take it in, but man, it's everything that I've ever dreamed of.
We had Max Muncy on the other day, and he was talking about partying. Who did you see partying the most, and how hard did you party on which day? Was it the parade? Was it post game? Was it on the plane flying back?
So we kind of had a weird scenario with I would have loved to have stayed, but we had to fly out after the game. For me, it wasn't too much drinking or anything like that, or even partying. Obviously, after, so my parents were in town. We're actually at Game 5, and my two best friends and my wife. So out on the field, we celebrated a bunch. That was a super special moment for me. My dad's been a diehard Yankee fan since I could remember. So this one, he was a good sport about it. But man, we shared definitely a pretty intimate moment with everybody, and then with the team. I mean, the parade, man, that was the best. Everyone around me was partying. It was just a fun time, and we enjoyed it. And then we went over to Mookie's house, and that was fun too. I'd never been over at his place before, so I kind of got to take it all in and stuff. But I just was kind of trying to enjoy it. I'm not the biggest drinker or anything like that, but for this special moment, I mean, you have to.
Take me back to what you were saying about your dad being a big Yankees fan. He had to what was it when you guys, obviously I'm going to go out on a limb and say he was super proud of you. You guys made the World Series. How much of the text were you getting kind of in jest, man, I hope you guys enjoy your National League championship ring because the Yankees are going to win. What were some of the things he was saying?
So this starts all the way back to when we played the Yankees in July or June, in the regular season. He wanted to wear a half Yankee, half Dodgers jersey. And I told him that if he wore that, I would never get him tickets ever again. I said, there's no way you're wearing that. One, because I said, you're going to go viral. You would go absolute viral. It was hilarious. But obviously, as it started to get closer and closer, and when they clinched and then we clinched, I shot him a text. I said, this is going to be the most exhausting week of your life, and he was a good sport about it. He's like, I'm always going to support my son and whatnot. And I think what bugged him the most was all of his friends and all of our family know how big of a Yankee fan he is. And everyone was just texting him about, oh, your son, this and that, right? And I think that was a pretty funny moment for me because I knew this was going to happen, man. I mean, the Yankees, they have a great team, and obviously, being on the Dodgers and stuff, that's our goal, is to be in the World Series every year. So, yeah, it's I knew it was going to come eventually. Obviously, in the 2024 season, hey, I'll take it.
I got a quick follow up to that. How much did going and playing the Yankees motivate you to get back from missing the CS so that you made sure you were pitching in that series?
Oh, when I walked off the field and I got into the training room and they were trying to like assess me and whatnot, that was immediately like my first thing. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be out for the CS. I have to be ready to go for the World Series. I said, there's no way I'm missing this. There's no way I could just sit on the side and just be like content with that, So like, I was definitely pushing some of the trainers probably a little bit harder than most, but I felt good day in and day out going through it. And you know how it is. You just like, you check boxes and it keeps getting better. You just keep rolling with it, especially with the small time frame. It was kind of just, you have to give it all you got, I was willing to do whatever it took, that was my mentality.
Yep, last part of the season, can't hold anything back now. Can't remember what movie that is, but I remember saying that a lot when I was a kid. Another one for you. So this is something I'm so glad we get to talk to you because I was on the radio a few weeks ago and we were trying to come up. So there's the Soto Shuffle. We all know about the Soto Shuffle. I don't know actually if you faced it in the series, but we all know about the Soto Shuffle. But I think that people need to realize that Alex Vesia has got one of the best K struts in the major league. So we were trying to name it, and we came up with, because your last name's Vesia, so like that limits us to V's. We came up with the Vesia Vaunt. What do you think of the Vesia Vaunt?
Vaunt.
Because it was,
I like it.
It was going. You were all, dude. They were doing it every time. I loved it. I was like walking around with you. I was like, let's go. Vesia Vaunt. You like that? You want to roll?
I like it. I'm in. That's cool with me.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
That's
Vesia
cool.
Vaunt. We'll book it. We'll book it.
Yeah.
All right.
We I mean, I did that stuff in college, like there's a video of me, I think it's on my Instagram, where I strike a guy out and I'm walking off the field, and it's just like, for me, part of me blacks out for sure. The other part is like, I want the strikeout so bad. And when I get the strikeout, like, I don't know. It's like a blackout moment. And, the funniest thing was when I was playing with David Price in 21, he would call it a suitcase carry because my arms would be stuck right at the side of my hand, my sides, and I'd be just barreling into the dugout. And all the coaches are like not trying to give me high fives or anything like that because I would hurt their hands or whatever. But like, I don't know. I just, it's the fired up mentality, man. You're only out there for 15 pitches maybe. Like, I want to make them count. And plus, like, if I don't have that edge that day, that one moment can absolutely ruin, a whole season. You've watched so many guys that have one bad game and it turns their 2 ERA into a 5, and it's like how focused and just day in and day out you have to be as a reliever. Like, my goal is to be hot every night. Obviously Doc does a great job and we have a great relationship going back and forth with making sure that, I get a day of rest or, I'm available and all that. So it's like, but to be ready to go day in and day out, man, it takes a special human and man, it's definitely, I don't think it's brought to light enough.
So let's bring it to light a little bit, because you had to sit out, like we said, you had to sit out the NLCS, and everybody sees you on the mound. You are an absolute just bulldog out there, and I can tell, I can hear, it's that mentality that you're just going to get after it, whether it came from playing Division II, whether it came from, no D1 offers, wherever it is, like it built up to the person, the persona that you are. How was it sitting there in the NLCS? Because I talked about it since the World Series is over, sitting in a playoff game and not playing, not being able to do anything for me was one of the most nerve-wracking things. When I got in the game, it changed. Like it was like, oh, well, this is just regular. I'm going to be who I am. How was it sitting through that NLCS, seeing your team lose a game, seeing your team being down and having to come back?
Yeah, I think, having guys like Landon Knack and Ben Kasparius gave me peace, right? Where I'm able to talk with them, give them advice, or even just, I was still with the guys. Like our group in the bullpen for the whole playoffs, right? We were so close. Throughout the whole season, our relationships got closer and closer. And I mean, when I say like we're a family and like, we love one another, like that's the truth. Like it's just everyone. There's no ego there. Nobody wants a specific inning. Nobody needs a title, right? Like, and that goes a long way. And that I have a bunch of respect for everybody on the team. But going back to Landon and Ben, right? Like seeing them go out and pitch and get those opportunities, right? Like I was like living through them, and it's like if I can give them a little advice or just kind of be there and let them know that like I had the same experiences when I went through my first playoff in 21, right? Like just to feed off of all of their energy, right? And then, letting the big dogs eat, right? Like, it's always fun watching them, and in New York facing the Mets, like, I have all the confidence in them, man. It was great. So it wasn't as nerve wracking as I thought. For me, I trust all those guys down there, every single one of them, and it's like when you have a guy like Brent Honeywell out there, it's cracking jokes and making everybody laugh. Like we have a good time down there.
That's good. Would you have blown out? I know you go into an injury and then you're coming back and you're like, I'm ready to go. In your mind, would you been okay if I help this team win and I blow out and this ruins my career? Is it worth it to win a World Series?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with how things go in the game of baseball, right? Where I was dealing with like rib intercostal muscle like stuff, right? It didn't change my throw. Everything, all my soreness was normal, right? I didn't have extra soreness in the back of my shoulder. I was still using my legs. So I checked out a bunch of boxes. And when I threw my bullpen on that Sunday or whatever day it was, that was a huge sigh of relief for me because I felt good coming out of it. I definitely, winning a World Series is that's the highest achievement that you can, that's something that I've thought about since I was a little kid in my front yard hitting a wiffle ball, right? Like you always think about that. And it's wild that I was actually able to live out a dream where you come in with bases loaded and 2 outs and you need to get 1 out, right? Like that's a storybook ending, So yeah, it's definitely worth it, and it's also when you look around at the group of guys that you're playing with and all the stuff that they're dealing with as well, it puts into perspective that's like, I'm going to give it all I got because all the guys around me are also giving it all I got.
This is great. No, really enjoying hearing about this. And, we of course have heard from some of your teammates, even your manager. So I'm just going to throw a couple quotes your way and get your reaction. I'll do kind of two at the same time here. So Dave Roberts said the other day, he felt like the Padres series with the World Series. And then your buddy Joe Kelly said he put the Yanks ranked like 8th or 9th. So what did you think when you heard that? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So facing the Padres, we face them so much. They know our tricks and we know theirs, right? Like I didn't even really need to do a lot of scouting report stuff because I'd already faced them. I faced all those guys since in the beginning of the season when we went to Korea, right? Like we faced them so much. And it's like they're a hot team. They added a few guys in their bullpen, right? Like they were really good. And and in those games, they're tight games. And yeah, I mean, that was definitely a really big series for us. And that was, I mean, we played some really good baseball. So yeah, I mean, that was an awesome series. It's also, I'm from San Diego, so it's always a little bit more the spotlight's a little bit more on that because 90% of my friends are going to text me and be like, well, don't take it too hard on the Padres, right, or whatever. And so it's like that series for me is always more because that's a hometown thing, and so playing at Petco is always fun, and their stadium's rocking, man. I mean, Dodger Stadium, Petco, New York, even Philly, right? Those are the right off the top of my head that like they're loud, their fans enjoy it, right? Like also Atlanta, right? All of those teams that like their fans make or break those playoff games.
What about the Yankees comment? What did you
I mean,
think? Like, do you think the Padres were a better? Like, this could be more of like a reasonable question too. Like, do you think the Padres were better than the Yankees in terms of challenge to face?
yeah, probably. I mean,
Mhm.
I could say that. I think their lineup they could switch guys out a little bit more. I think the Yankees kind of got handcuffed a little bit towards the end with who they had and what lineup they wanted to bring out. Um, but like you know, the Padres bullpen going even sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth, right? Like man, that bullpen was just dude after dude after dude that threw 95 to 100 sliders, changeups, splitters. Like, I mean, they were coming at us with everything. So I think it makes it a lot harder for our lineup to navigate that. But we did a great job of that. I mean, obviously, like watching the games with getting into deeper counts and making them make more pitches, and when we can work a count to 2-2 rather than just getting out in those first couple pitches, right? It changes the whole game.
Absolutely. Now that we're in the off season and it's time to train and get ready,
You know it.
I want to talk a little bit about just being a member of the Dodgers, and something I notice for everyone that goes over there is
Yeah.
willingness for guys, pitchers especially, to make changes, learn a new pitch, switch to a sinker, whatever it is. And
Right.
you, for example, have one of the best riding fastballs in the major leagues. One of those fastballs
Yeah.
where you could tell them it's coming and they couldn't
Yeah.
see it anyways. It hit it. And it pairs with that slider really well. Was this something that was trained for? Were you a sinker guy before and they're like, hey, we think your fastball is going to be good? Or did you kind of come in kind of knowing there was something there, and then the Dodgers like, hey, let's really lean in on this? Because it's pretty clear at this point how you like to attack guys, especially lefties. And I'm always fascinated in it. I was one of the guys that early in the IVB renaissance, I bought in right away because I was the same type of thing. So is that something that you actively try to train for? And this season, is there, with the return of the sinker, return of the cutter, all that kind of stuff, is there another pitch that you're working on to maybe mess around with in spring training?
Yeah. So when I got traded over, Connor McGinnis and Mark Pryor kind of both sat me down and they were like, "Hey, we want you to kind of only throw your fastball this spring training." And at that point, I had no changeup, I had no slider. I thought I could throw a curveball, wasn't very good. And it was shocking to me. I was like, these guys only want me to throw a fastball. And for that whole spring training in 21, I just threw fastballs, fastball after fastball. And I had some pretty decent success, right? And over the course of that season, we tinkered around with the slider, but still, I could just go to work because no one had seen that vert, right, with a fastball. So I got away with it and could do that. And, kind of same with the 22 season where I threw mostly fastballs. I was able to throw a slider and it worked, right? Go to, now moving forward to the 2023 season, I was throwing the fastball. It was cutting a little bit more. And I think that was just kind of a mechanic stuff. I was pulling off really hard and just my wrist positioning and everything was a little bit off. So with that, guys were getting hits a lot easier. It was just going right into their bat path. And then with this slider, I wasn't landing it for a strike. So when I threw it, it was always a ball. So as a hitter, after seeing me for now 2 years, I established myself a little bit. Hitters are going to game plan for me and probably practice hitting the high fastball. I needed to make that change, and that's where Evan Phillips and he sat me down at dinner after a rough outing. He was like, "Hey, I don't want to be, the knife that goes even deeper, but like, can I talk to you, about your slider? I'm like, absolutely. What do you got? And he was like, you just need to land it more. It was a very low percentage when I threw it that I would throw it for a strike. He's like, all you need to do is just show them that you can land it for a strike, and it's going to open up the fastball so much more. And as soon as I started doing that right at the All-Star break, everything else, was really, really, really good. So going into that offseason, that's all I focused on was throwing a slider. Basically, for me, it's arm side and down, right? Because my misses, I would just yank it. I would hold on to it too
off the
long, and
plate.
it would just be off. It would start off and end off. And my best friend catches me. He plays catch with me pretty much every day. Catches my bullpens and stuff, and I just told him to stick his glove just on that side, and we would just pepper. And it wasn't from 60 feet. I was throwing this thing from like 40 feet at low intent because I could throw it 200 times in the offseason and not be sore. But it was just to get the feel of it being like out in front and arm side. That's all I wanted. And then going into spring training, Connor and he made like a small little tweak where like just where my eyes, right, where I was like looking, instead of, trying to hit the glove, it's like I'm throwing this kind of in that, it's like the space in between the batter and then the catcher. That's where that's where I look when I throw it. And it's a wild concept, but it works. I'm literally throwing it into no man's land, knowing that it's going to move and be where the catcher is. So that was something that once that clicked and I got a good feel for it, I mean, this year my slider percentage was way up, throwing it for a strike, then also being able to expand with it once I got to 2 strikes. All of those were super key, things like moving forward. And then we went into a little bit more of like the scouting report because, I did a little bit of scouting report, but not a bunch, right? I try to keep it simple where I want to know if the guy's with runners on, right? Is he aggressive or is he passive, right? And then it's like, does he walk a lot? Does he have a high walk percentage, or is it, is he going to be swinging, right? Because that dictates pretty much where I'm going to throw my first fastball, or if I need to throw the slider to get him off the fastball. So it's super, super like, for me, it seems pretty basic. I mean, I think for most, like, but it works for me, and it's like just, some guys with the data and everything. I mean, man, you listen to them talking, you're like, what in the world? That's what you're thinking when you're up there? Like, good grief. So,
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Trevor, that's
right?
you.
That was me. I was that guy. That's me.
It's just, man, it's just so brutal. But, and from there, like, this offseason, I would love to implement a changeup. I get so like wrist happy, right? Like when I throw my baseball, like I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing is like when I throw, it's like the ball's like back
underneath the ball. Yeah, you're underneath the ball.
Big time. Like I'm like,
I got a grip for you. I'll DM you on Twitter, dude.
That's fine. But but like I tuck my thumb big time, like underneath the baseball. Like it's gone. Like, most people, when you see them, they grip it and their thumb's all the way like around it.
Yeah.
Right. Where I'm all the way underneath. So there's a little bit of like give, which is why I think it like kind of kicks and has that vert. Now with a changeup, I'm throwing it underneath. Like I'm throwing changeups with 19 vert. Like that ain't gonna do it. Like it needs to have some bottom to it. And then also I've run into, it's like when I try to manipulate it, like hitters are just like, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like out of your hand.
Different.
Like your heater's just like super clean. And then you have like your hand is out and it like rolls. And I'm like, you know what? Sticking with the fastball and the slider might just be it, because this year I've had a lot of success against right-handers as well with it. But I would love to be able to throw a changeup, but I mean, sometimes you just have to, be content and all right with what you got. But yeah, we'll see. I honestly haven't talked to any of my pitching coaches or anything like that since we've won, right? Like it's kind of the last thing I want to do is
Yeah.
get a phone
Take
call
a little
going,
break.
hey, what do we
Yeah.
got? You know, like
Recover a little bit.
yeah, but we're back working out already. You know, I took 3 days off of lifting and whatnot. Obviously, throwing program and stuff like that. That doesn't start up until basically November 26th. I'll do my plyos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
First bullpen's probably January 6th or 8th, and then we got live at bats and stuff. I love doing that. You know, that those are always a lot of fun, and you know, getting college guys or even, you know, King of JUCO, good old Erik Sim. He's fun to face, and it keeps baseball fun, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
just played 162 plus another, 15, 20 games, right? Like you're playing so much baseball, and it's like I always try to keep it fun and relaxed and loose, and like, you know, being in the bullpen, you know how it is, like you don't really get locked in until about the 5th inning. Like,
No.
you know, it's just it is what it is. But
I wasn't even out there till the 5th inning, so yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong guy. You're talking to a bougie closer who's in there doing analytics, video.
I closed for 4 months.
There you go.
Yeah, he wanted to be a closer,
But yeah,
but
I
he's
mean,
a starter.
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah,
you know, the
fun.
more you can enjoy it, you know, it's just
Better.
it's better. It's so much better.
Well, I got one for you, or Kratz, you want to go? Because there's news today, so you ask it.
You made all these transitions as a pitcher. What do you think about your boy Mookie? What would you rather have? If you turn around, would you rather have him at second base or shortstop, or would you rather have his gold out in right field and him making this transition back to the infield now?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I think the news was yesterday. It might have been even this morning, right? And my first thought was like, all right, like cool, you know, like that's. I mean, he's the best pickleball player I've ever played against.
Of course he is.
It's unbelievable, right? When we went to his house for the party, he's got a nice bowling alley there. Watched him, you know, one try strike, like played pickleball. He's using this little trainer. It's like a super small paddle. Absolutely worked me and Michael Grove. Absolutely worked us. It was unbelievable. But he's just a natural athlete, right? And I mean, I don't think people realize how hard it is to be. He's played the outfield for how long, right? For him to transition into short, he's gonna make a few errors, right? Like it's gonna happen, right? And I think him getting a little bit of a break and then going back into it, I also think that's great for him. He's got a really good mentor. We've got Miggy Rowe, that's, you know, one of the best fielders out there to teach him and everything. And I mean, whether he's playing second, whether he's playing short, like, I mean, I don't mind it at all, you know, and I think having a nice clean slate for him to work on it, you know, in the off season and then roll into spring training, I think it's going to be an easier transition for him rather than, what was it, halfway through spring training last year? They're like, yep, you're going to play short. It's like, like that's really hard to do, you know, and, you know, but also I know he loves a challenge. I really do. Like that man's the most competitive dude that I know. And so, you know, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to watching that. And just because, you know, I know he takes it so serious, you know, this isn't something to just joke around about. So yeah, he's gonna be great. I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, we're excited to see what the team does this offseason too. So, dude, this was great to have you on here for the first time. Really appreciate it. Really, really good insight there. And I'll tell aspiring pitchers who out there, they got to listen to how you kind of went through your process with the Dodgers. But thanks for doing this, dude. Congratulations again. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
We'll definitely have you back. All right.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, like I said, this is all new. You know, I'm not super into I do the social media stuff, but like talking with you guys has been great. So let me know when we got some more questions for me, and then Trev, send me that changeup grip.
I will, bro.
Trevor, send it
through momentarily.
Cool. Yeah,
Dingers.
Awesome.
Can't be getting under changeups.
Can't be getting under it.
Nope.
This was great. You're awesome. Thanks, Alex. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate it. Really good interview. See you soon. Alex Vesia, world champ. Okay, so that brings me to the World Series for a moment, just because we haven't had Trevor on since then. So just for the YouTube crowd here real quick, can we show this visualization of where Rizzo was when he was getting that ball at first base? Because that's the play everyone's going to remember. You're one of our resident pitchers, right, Trevor? So I need your take here. Garrett Cole, of course, didn't cover first, but Anthony Rizzo said it was some English on that baseball, so he didn't really move. Here it is. You know how MLB does this. Your thoughts on the track of the baseball, and should he have been charging it a little bit more, and could he have made it to first base in time?
I mean, he could have if he charged. That's the thing. I think he read that it was going to have some weird English, and he wasn't going to be able to get it before it like kicked off. The last thing he wanted is to kick off right or left. And Cole just kind of played it as if it was a tweener at first. So it just looks so bad, but I feel like these are like normal. That's like a normal thing that will happen where you can just like get caught between. Because they both kind of made an initial decision, and they both made the wrong initial decision to make it so one of them could have got to the bag. So yeah, I can't remember. There was two outs, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's 2 outs. So like Cole kind of did the whole, I'm just gonna walk into the dugout now. So then it even looked even worse. But it was capped. It was like a weird, it was weird. It was weird off the bat. I don't blame him for being like, I want to make sure I don't drop this. I don't want to Buckner this. And when you're a pitcher, man, you just have to you have to be near the bag no matter what, even if it's not going to be tossed to you. You have to. So I would say I would lean more towards that's on Garrett a little more than it is on Rizzo. It is just because fielding the ball is the thing you have to do first, and Anthony Rizzo was focused on that, which is what he should have been focused on, even if it wasn't necessarily the best decision. He still fielded the ball cleanly, and that's what you have to do first before you make the play. So Garrett's got to be there and then peel off if it's a take it yourself situation. It's just that's the way it is. I mean, we did that in PFPs. I would have got yelled at 100%.
You're running laps.
Yeah.
Go take a lap, Trevor.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. We'll be back in about 30 seconds to go over the Mookie Betts switch back to the infield and our thoughts. Hey, we're back. Also, I'm going to throw this in there as we're going to cover some Dodger news, and they just seem to be sending us news left and right now. This just came in from Dave Vesia that Clayton Kershaw announced he had foot and knee surgery yesterday. Man, he's going through a lot. I know he had the foot. Did we know the knee?
Oh,
nope.
I didn't hear anything about it. My man's he's getting a lot of aftermarket parts.
Yeah. Well, good for him. I mean, he's going through the surgeries, Trevor. He wants to keep going. That's why you're doing all this cleanup, because he's trying to get back on the field and have another season.
Yeah, I mean, the guy loves baseball. I think that's pretty clear. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if this might be just like I might be misremembering this, but I feel like every even when he was held in the offseason, he's like, I'm having a minor thing cleaned up, and I think maybe he's just like, let's take care of it while we can. But I mean, the guy's thrown so many innings in his career. They're like, I don't want to put this on him, but we saw Felix Hernandez do it where people are like, wow, he's still, he's only 35, 36, 33, still pretty young, but you got to remember the guy's been up for 15 years. Like, he's thrown 200 innings a bunch of times. He's thrown lots and lots and lots and lots of innings. At some point, your body just stops replacing the things that you're losing. So, but we see it. Even every time he comes back, he's still effective. So I don't blame him. The game hasn't told him, outside of injuries, that he's not good enough to pitch. So I go out and keep trying to pitch, because you're like, as long as I'm healthy, I'm good still. So I might as well keep trying to get healthy until you're not as good when you're healthy. And then that's when you kind of consider not playing anymore, I think.
He started throwing 100+ innings when he was 20 years old in the big leagues. I'm saying he was over 100+, and then obviously started doing the full workload for a really long time, starting that next year in 2009 at age 21. He's now just finishing up his age 36 season, obviously in 2024. So
he's got 2,700 innings.
Yeah, 2,700 innings. Like, not all ages are created the same in baseball. It's mileage on the arm. It's just like Kratz, we all have that friend who partied really hard in life. And even though they're 35, they look a little bit weathered because they really went hard. And you're like, that's not the same 35.
100%. 100%. And that's no way Scott's saying that Clayton Kershaw partied hard. He's saying that he went hard on the mound. You're putting so much into it. If you listen to any pitcher talk, Alex Vesia just hit it perfectly. You're doing everything you can to be the best you can. And he's been doing it since he was, he threw at age 19 in the minor leagues, he threw 122 innings. Since then, he has eclipsed that mark besides injury years every season. He is just getting after it. And so you put a lot into it. And these guys, like, everybody can't stay together like Nolan Ryan. Like, people be like, back in the day, Nolan Ryan, he pitched at 47. You're right, he did. There's a reason there's only one Nolan Ryan. And Clayton Kershaw will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I will back up what Trevor just said. Till the game tells him you can't pitch anymore, meaning guys come out and they whack everything he's throwing up there. This guy should keep coming back because I love it. I think his impact on the team is felt every time he's out there. But man, Skechers, tough look. Guy's got to get foot surgery, and he's got Skechers as his main shoe brand.
Uh-oh.
I didn't think about that.
Woo. Wow. Catching strays from Kratz right there. So I'll bring us poor brand, but I'll bring us to Mookie Betts. So he starts the year at shortstop and then obviously finishes the year in right field. And now they announced, Brandon Gomes said, he didn't say it like definitively because who knows what happens in the offseason, but he basically said he's going to be back in the infield. I think infield was important to hear there because to me, Kratz, when I hear infield, that means it could be second base. My thoughts immediately go to this. They're going to look for more outfield help. They are going to put him at second. They're going to try and sign someone like Adames to be their shortstop. And boom, there's the 2025 Los Angeles Dodgers. What do you think?
I would agree. I would also say if it was any other team, you'd be like, they just want him to play shortstop so they can save the money. The Dodgers are out there to put the best team out there. And I think they can upgrade their team if they move him to second base. They bring in a legit shortstop like Willy Adames, and they can find upgrades. Look at what they did. Look at what they did with a one-year deal with Teoscar Hernandez. $23 million 1 year. That's where they can find those upgrades. I think it's harder to find those upgrades and have an offensive second baseman who can shift back and forth between. It gives the Dodgers so much versatility, but it also makes their 26-man roster much better, I think, with him going to the infield. Not that he can't win a Gold Glove in right field. He can. It's just I think the value out there in right field is easier for them to find than infield offensive production. I
agree. I think you're completely right. I think they are going to target a shortstop, maybe long term. I think Willy Adames is a great. That's my spot for him. Obviously, it comes down to the dollars, but Mookie's one of those guys. He just, like we just talked about, how good he was at pickleball. Like, the guy's just good. Like, he's just not going to hurt you wherever you put him. You can put him at first, play him at third. He'll figure it out. He just picks things up faster than other people. So they're using him in that way, and it helps a lot that he's really open and really enjoys. I think he enjoys playing baseball that way too, and being able to move around and do this stuff. And it's funny that he's a utility guy, if we're really talking about it, and nobody talks about him like that. He's a utility guy, and he does everything pretty well. The worst he is like above average, and I couldn't even tell you what that thing is. I'm just assuming there is something. Yeah, I think they're trying to. They feel like they can fill those gaps on the corners, and I think that that they just want the flexibility and just like set the table and just say, hey, you're going to be used in this way, so this. Everyone knows going forward, now we can go out and we can make these pieces, and also send messages to the other teams, possibly if there's trades in whatever, is like, we're looking out there. You don't count Mookie Betts as an outfielder that fills that spot. You know, we're looking. We're out. We're in the market. So I think it's a savvy move, and you know, give him all the time he need. Like, more time for him, the better. He's gonna be good at it, though. He's just gonna be good. So
Yeah,
I'm excited. I love watching that guy.
One of the best super utility players ever. That's good. I mean, he's a legend. That's really cool. All right, so we'll swing back. We'll take more fan questions during the break here for the TV crowd. We'll see you in 2 minutes, and we'll go over some news on Juan Soto, some more legit news. It's not him signing anywhere. We're just trying to pick a destination based on some reports. All right, let's continue this for a moment because I saw a comment about where that leaves Gavin Lux. And to me, that could leave him out of the picture, maybe part of a trade, but it also could leave him as a depth piece. I know that's not what he would necessarily want, but when you're a team that good, you don't have to move guys just because you don't have a spot for them unless you think it's going to cause a problem based on the player's personality. Do you agree, Trevor? Or Kratz, you want to start? I mean, do you think Gavin Lux could still end up on the team even if he's playing behind Mookie and Adames? And maybe they do try and have him learn more versatility.
Yes, I definitely do. I mean, I think everybody in a position where you're on a team like that wants to win and pushes all in to win, you have to have extra value. This is why when they have ridiculous amounts of injuries, they're still able to make the playoffs. Look at what the Braves injuries that they had. They're still able to make the playoffs, even though they lost huge key pieces, 3 huge key pieces to their team. They have depth. Everyone's like, oh man, you know, Gavin Lux had a bad World Series. Max Muncy had a bad World Series. I saw all over Dodgers territory comments, you know, trade these guys. Like, what? Every single player that played in games had a positive impact for the Dodgers to win the World Series. Gavin Lux, even though they say, you know, I think this is part of Brandon Gomes' vagueness too about, hey, you're going to play in the infield. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're going to do. And that's okay. It's okay to have depth. It will all work out. Gavin Lux was a 2.1 WAR player this year. He is a positive player, and I think he will be a Dodger next year. How will it all work out? Believe me, you need everybody.
Yep. Trevor, agree?
Oh, fully. Yeah.
Mean,
I mean, he keep him. There's no reason not to. He's an athlete. And also, he was a big reason that he raked at the end of the year and held off the San Diego Padres in their division. Like, he was really hot going into the end of the year, and that's a lot of the value he added as well. So, you know, we can say, oh, they didn't do anything in the World Series or whatever. You won the series 4-1. Like, everyone's not going to be just the best version of themselves. I don't know if you remember this, but Max Muncy got on base 12 straight times in the NLCS. He had a big part of that one. So,
but he didn't hit in the World Series, Trevor. They didn't win every game 20-0 and sweep. Yes, like, that's how fans are. We needed 2
grand slams from him. I get it. Like, we needed to make it to an even 10 grand slams on the playoffs.
It's ridiculous.
And Gavin Lux is 1 year removed from his surgery too, so there's still value there.
Yeah.
That's good. That's the first time we unveiled that. Very well done, Claudia and company behind the scenes. Very, very good.
Claudia loved putting him in the boat, in the kayak outside Oracle Park. She loved that.
You think she loved that more than putting him sneaky inside the Philly Fanatic?
The Fanatic
costume?
I think second. I think second place.
Okay.
The boat. She giggled a little bit for herself.
Where will Juan go? So that's the segment, and we'll probably do it multiple times with the reports being thrown out left and right. So Mark Feinsand wrote an article yesterday about the saga and said, according to executives at the general managers meetings, it's likely a race between New York and New York. I know we're not saying anything surprising here, but there are plenty of people out there that think, you know, other teams are in play. But it seems, at least according to his article, that Everyone else would be somewhat of a long shot. He said other teams such as the Phillies, Dodgers, Giants, and Nationals may dip their toes, blah, blah, blah. I know I don't remember. I think it was John Heyman put something out about the Rays. It's like you get the mystery teams before they're even a mystery. It's like, just because it's the Rays and it's a mystery that they
let them fix
actually
their
would
roof
be involved.
first. How about that? Let them fix their roof first, and then go from there.
Which they're not going to do, I don't think. I mean, we've talked about that quite a bit, but I think they're not going to pay for that. And I think they do things, and so do other teams, to say they do things, but that's just me. Like, it sounds cool to be like, yeah, we were in on Soto. We had some conversations. We didn't get him. I mean, the Red Sox did that 90 times last year in the offseason. We were in on so-and-so. I can be in on a player too. I can offer him to play for my softball team on the weekend, and say, oh, what did you get offered? 600 mil? Well, that's beating my offer. So I was in, but you beat it.
I wanted to say this before you even started going on your standard Ryan Braun doesn't think that the Rays really want any players diatribe, because I know, and I'm assuming this player will never come on our show, a free agent who ended up signing that got the exact same offer from the Rays that he got from somebody else. I am a true believer that the Rays do actually get in on these sweepstakes. I don't think they get on the Juan Soto sweepstakes. I don't think they get in on the Aaron Judge sweepstakes. I think they get in on the next tier down. And so to say it's not real that they were in on Juan Soto, I mean, they only have Franco's contract. What was that, like another $200 million? So they're willing to give $200+ million to somebody, but it's way out of their league. It's, Rays don't swim with sharks.
No.
You want the numbers on that one, by the way? I mean, because our show can talk about whatever we want. Obviously, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say
what numbers are.
So his contract he initially signed was about 11 years, 182 mil, but then it could max out if the 12th year on the option was picked up and he hit some escalators. It could have been as high as 12 years, $223 million. Yeah, that's serious. That's real money. And they did actually commit that. Now, they're probably not going to have to pay most of that, but they did initially commit that.
Yep. And I know for a fact they're willing to make $100 million offers. So has it happened yet? No, it hasn't come to fruition. You have to build that. And I think with Franco, I thought they were kind of building that, where they had like a guy like, oh, I want to come and play with this guy. I want to come and play on this team, because they're not just piecemealing it together with bullpen arms from the minor leagues who just throw a ball as hard as they can into a wall, and then that's how we win our games. Like, they have to build something sustainable to sit there and go, I'm willing to play for $125 million in Tampa. I'm willing to do this, because I want to play with these guys. That's how you build a team that these offers are actually coming true.
Yeah.
And who would not? Like, everybody should offer some kind of contract to Juan Soto. Brewers, do it.
It's not a bad place to play. I want to make sure I'm clear there. Obviously, they don't have a home right now, but they're going to have a new one. I love Tampa, Trevor. They also have the no state income tax advantage, which certainly does help when you're making offers. Don't think that teams don't say, hey, this number actually means this compared to the one you're getting from, say, New York or California.
Thing, guys. That's a huge thing.
Can you explain how big it is? Like, how far do teams? I'm sure teams literally say, all right, here's our offer. And just so you know, factoring in X percent that you save on what we're offering, this is what it really is worth compared to your offer from California or New York. I'm just picking on those two states because their taxes are insane in state.
Someone who played in New York and then immediately went and played in California, I know about both of those things. And yeah, I mean, especially in California, well, for example, we had a signing bonus for my last year in Oakland tacked onto the end so that I would be paid when I was in Seattle, when I had moved home, because I was technically a seasonal worker in California, just so that I could get no income tax. We don't have income tax in Washington either. That's 13% more money. If it's, for example, here's just a nice round number. That's $1 million. that's another $130,000. That's just $1 million. So if you extrapolate that over these massive contracts, you can get, it could be insane amounts of money, like another contract out of it, right? Probably,
Yes.
especially with Soto, it's probably your whole bullpen's salary worth extra. So that's a real thing, and that's a seller. I mean, if the Tampa's not using that, that should be what they lead with. We don't have income tax because it's again, they're not going to be able to match all of the numbers all the time. But that will sweeten the deal a little bit because it's something you don't have to worry about, and something, if you're going to do it, you're going to take advantage of these paydays for this short amount of time. You want to get everything you can. So, yes, that factors in a lot, and it's funny, but it only really matters like the difference between, for example, New York, which is 13, I believe, or somewhere close. California and New York are always hopping each other. Say it's like, the difference between 13 and like 9 somewhere else. It's not as big of a deal, but between 0 and 13. Huge deal. And when it comes to Tampa, you don't have that many things to entice people, so you got to use that.
Yeah, it's a good call. I mean, Machado re-signed that extension. I'm just using him as an example, and there are many others in this case. California player, right? Plays for a team in California, lives in Miami. You saw in his deal, it was public, signing bonus. I think it was massive. He lives in Florida. You get to take
Lindor
that signing bonus in Florida. Lindor did that as well. Lindor is a Florida-based player who plays up in New York. So, all right, final thoughts here, at least for now, based on Feinsand's report from you, Trevor, since you don't have maybe the pain of having to answer this every single day on our show. What are your initial thoughts on what will happen with Juan Soto? And do you think this is a race between the Yankees and the Mets, and he's just going to go to the highest bidder?
Yes, I do believe he's a New York guy in like through and through. It's the vibe. First of all, he fits. The one interesting thing is I would always say Yankees, but for some reason, every quote we get from Hal Steinbrenner is just like, I imagine him just like wringing his hands, like, I don't know if we can do that. And Steve Cohen's like holding his checkbook as you ask him the question. So that's where the difference is for me. But I think it's pretty clear. If Juan Soto could choose anywhere, he'd just be like, yeah, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the Bronx because this is like my personality in a franchise. And it just makes sense. He's just like, you can become a legend, and that's where you do it. And he's already there, and he wants to be a legend. So I think that he would prefer to, but like, I just think that Steve Cohen he's a wild card, man. He's just a wild card, and they did their rebuild year and then went to the NLCS. So, but they need pitching. So it's going to be like, I don't know if they wait to figure out Soto and then make other decisions, or if they go get other decisions and let that affect Soto. That's going to be the thing, I think, that changes these dynamics really quickly. But I would say he's going to be a Yankee. That's my guess.
Mm-hmm. We used unicorn too much last offseason with Shohei. Juan is essentially a unicorn. He is talking about he's a free agent today at 25 years old. That is a unicorn status. What he's able to do is a Hall of Fame track. He seems like he is a healthy player. This is going to be an epic offseason of just back and forth. And if I were any team other than the Mets or the Yankees, I would make sure I bid this up as far as I can go. I think the Giants and the Phillies are going to bid this up so that the Mets then get bid up by the Yankees. I think the Yankees end up coming out on top.
Okay. And we'll keep getting into predictions with free agents, money, teams, the whole deal. In fact, we'll do that next with Trevor and Kratz making some predictions on some big name pitchers. So we'll dig into the weeds coming up next. And of course, we will take some answers from the YouTube chat too. So I'll throw the names out there now so you can think about it. Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki. Although obviously just think about team there because we know how much he'd get paid. It would be not much if he goes to free agency right now. We'll be right back.
Why not both? I mean, they both fill different needs. Corbin Burns, I think, is going to be priced out of, the ballpark for the Dodgers.
Oh, please, we're the Dodgers. They can spend whatever they want.
This is fair, but what this team loves to do is thinking about down the road. They love to think about 2028, 2032, all that kind of stuff. And, to have the same reason I don't think they signed Soto, mainly because of the money. And we're talking about like 13 years and $650 million or whatever it may be. That's my prediction for Soto. That's a lot of commitment to a few dudes with Soto, with Shohei, with Yamamoto. On the other hand, you also need to think 3-4 years down the road, and with Juan Soto, you're looking at the modern day Barry Bonds, save this for the steroids. The problem is Juan Soto's not on steroids, so he's not going to be good into his late 30s and 40s like old Barry was. So take with that what you will.
All right,
Scott,
so we both agree Flaherty's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, and we both agree. I don't think Walker's gone. I think Walker comes back. I know I said that he could be one of the 5, but deep down, I really don't think Walker's going anywhere. I think they'll figure out a way to, give him a deal that they can both deal with, I guess.
Yeah,
I think he really wants to play in LA.
I think that's the big thing right there. He really wants to play in LA. I think he wants at least one more season to pitch alongside Clayton Kershaw. I mean, you saw them loving on each other at the parade. Sure, there were a few drinks mixed in there as well, but them boys haven't been able to pitch together really since 2020. Because 21, there was different injuries for the both of them. 22, Walker has a surgery, misses all of 23. They're kind of two ships passing in the night at different points this season. They won't be the 1 and 2 that they used to be, but to have them be the 4 and 5 together or the 5 and 6 together.
If Shohei and Yamamoto can be your 1 and 2, I'm not asking for Clayton Kershaw to be in ace anymore. I saw somebody on here that says I'm crazy because I think that I didn't say that he was going to be the ace of the staff. He's a good where he's at in his career. By the way, next stop Cooperstown. He's a good 4 or 5. He doesn't need to be. So you could have Shohei, you could have Yamamoto, you could have Buehler, you could have Kirsch and Glasnow and then Kirsch, and move Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin to the bullpen.
Hey, we're back in the weeds. Let's dig in. So we've got our pitcher on today, Trevor May. We're going to do a little dance with the free agent starters. You guys ready?
Yep.
Say yes. Okay. Because even if you said no, I would still really not know what else to do. So I'm going to go to Corbin Burns first. And Kratz, you can go first. Where do you think Corbin Burns lands?
He's going back to play for the manager that he played for when he broke into the big leagues. Chicago Cubs are going to actually dip into the market. They're going to try to push through the next few years here with Corbin Burns as their ace. They have seen him. They've seen him in the division the last few years, obviously not last year, and they won it. And they have been in the 5th inning since last offseason, and now it's time for them to push in, and they will outbid the Mets, who are going to continually be bidding for the Juan Soto sweepstakes, and they're going to miss out on their Corbin Burns time.
Well, I think that the Mets are going to win the bid war, and they're going to get him over the Cubs because I think that. Well, I've been around Steve Cohen, and he just had a taste being one step away. I think that he's going to want to do something big. Obviously, this is probably if they don't get Soto, but I don't think they're going to be able to wait that long. That's the interesting thing, too. They all have the same agent. So who goes first? And I think that's going to make a difference because he's going to be expensive. But he's an ace. He's a true ace. There's not that many out there that you can go get, and he would be a huge pickup because that's one thing the Mets are going to need is starting pitching. They're losing a lot moving forward.
Can I follow up here? Why couldn't they land both? So let's say Soto beats the average annual value on the present day contract for Ohtani. Let's say he's in the $45 million a year range. I mean, I don't know. I didn't do my calculations yet on Burns, but he's going to be most likely what? Maybe in the 35-ish range. Kratz looking at me like, okay. So those two, I get it. You're adding in just those two players alone $80 million, but the Mets have the ability to add, I think, close to $200 million this offseason. I'm saying just for next year's salaries and still be in okay shape where it's not crazy compared to what they've spent in the past. So they could add both.
They could add both. We'll see. We'll see how hard Steve's pushing down the gas pedal this offseason. Okay. It could be, we could see another 2023. I mean, I would not the results, but he did it. He went for it, and he went and got the guys he wanted. So he's not scared to do it. If he wants them both, they have the ability to do it, and there's not many teams that are.
Yeah, and I think one of the lessons he learned was the age curve is real. It's not the same for everyone, but he was spending massive coin on players who are deep into their career. This goes back to the mileage on the arm situation. Corbin Burns, much less mileage. Juan Soto, obviously, way less mileage as a position player right now. So maybe that causes him to look at age even more so than he did in the past. I do think he'll be heading in that direction. Okay, next up, Trevor, Max Fried goes to...
I got Max Fried going to the Chicago Cubs instead of Burns. I think that he is more in their price range. I think he's going to be cheaper than Burns, but when he's good, he's really good. And I think he's maybe a little bit of a slept on 1-2 type of guy, just because of, missing some time last year. But when he's healthy, he's really good. I know he's a California guy, so I was kind of bouncing between the Cubs and the Pods, but I don't know if the Pods are going to do. I think they're done doing that thing, signing a bunch of guys. They still have a lot of money on the books. So I think the Cubs need to do something. They're close, and especially with Bellinger coming back, they need a guy to go throw game one. So I think that just makes a lot more sense. It's like it feels like a Dansby Swanson sign to me with all the shortstops. I feel like that's where he fits in this group.
I bounced between, like you said, California. I bounced between the Giants, because the Giants are just going to push all in for their pitching and defense. And the Giants, I think, have just unmatched amount of money besides Steve Cohen. I think they're willing to spend it too. Buster Posey's going to get gamers. This guy's a gamer. But like you said about his value, I think his price range drops down a tier after Burns. So I think he's going to Boston. I think Boston is in desperate need of a starting pitcher like this, a guy who comes out every single day and gives you 32 starts. He is a bulldog. I think Boston fans will absolutely endear themselves to him because of the way he goes out there. He's athletic. And I also think a lefty in Fenway is the right move. They had Sale. They screwed that up. But I think a lefty in Fenway plays because right-handed hitters become a little bit more pool happy, and you can exploit that. And he's going to face a lot of righties when they come in to face him. And I just think establishing yourself with a left-handed pitcher in Fenway at Max Fried's price and his ability, I love this. I love this for Boston.
All right, right to Blake Snell, Trevor. Blake Snell will be on which team?
The Boston Red Sox. I think he's their lefty option. I think that they, if they can figure something out that might be a little flexible, not quite what they had in San Francisco, but I think when he came back and showed, he's like, guys, when I'm good, like, there's no one better than me when I'm dialed in. Boston's in desperate need of that number one guy. And I think that the Boston area, I don't know. I think the reason Blake held out so long is because he was pretty narrow on where he wanted to be and the type of place he wanted to go. And I think that Boston fits more into. I think he might have opened that up a little bit, especially opting out, knowing that. Boston needs a starting pitcher. I think they're going to pony up, and I think I like the lefty thing. That I was going to make that point as well. That's a great point. Bringing in a lefty ace there would be huge, but I gotta say Max Fried would also be an incredible fit there. I think they can't really go wrong with either one of those guys.
Well, I hope it's not where he wants to go, because I chose the Detroit Tigers for Blake Snell. I hope that's where I hope he's not discounting places. I hope he's just taking where the money's going to be. And I think the Tigers see the value in having an elite starting pitcher and to pair him with Tarik Skubal, because some of these young guys that they thought were going to take over this rotation haven't panned out. They have to kind of pivot to it. And I get it. People will say they need the offense. But, man, if you go game 1, Tarik Skubal, and you go game 2, Blake Snell doesn't need to come in with the pressure of being a number 1. And I get it. This might be Tarik Skubal's last year with the Tigers. 2 more years with the Tigers. Time is now. This was supposed to be the time with all their pitching prospects. It's okay to be like, hey, it didn't pan out with all of them. We're going to double down on our strength, and we're going to absolutely get after it.
Okay, last one. Roki Sasaki. And we're going to assume that he somehow figures out getting posted, even though still, for me, it's hard to imagine how a team can wait and make like $50-some-odd million or more. And instead, they're going to make pebbles because he can only get paid basically like $5 to $10 million in a signing bonus. But anyway, Trevor, do you have him going to the Dodgers like most people do, or do you think there's another contender?
No, I don't. I think that so there was a comment I've seen in a couple different articles that were touching on this. These weren't quotes from him, so take it with a grain of salt. But there was mentions of possibly wanting to be more in a mid-tier to smaller market. And I would say those things usually don't come from nowhere. I would say that maybe the Dodgers are kind of a big market, even though he's got the Japanese connection there. We might go to the old roots, because if you guys remember, in the old aughts and maybe early 2010s, Seattle was where the Japanese guys wanted to go. So I think that he sees that pitching staff and he wants to be part of that pitching staff, and it is one of those mid markets. So if it's a comfort thing, I think the Seattle Mariners have a good shot.
All right. Well, I'm saying he's going to go to a big market and be a small fish in a big pond. He's going to L.A., He slots in easily behind Shohei. Yamamoto feels comfortable. Easy peasy. Book it. LA Dodgers.
There you go. All right, that was good. That was fun. We'll do more of that, obviously, throughout the offseason. Everyone else, let us know your thoughts. We'll answer a question or two during the break for the TV crowd, and then we'll swing back with Matt McLain, who had an awesome first season with the Reds, recovering this past year from a shoulder issue and thriving in the Arizona Fall League. We'll talk to him next on FT. All right, Trevor, your take on Garrett Cole's weird week? Were you able to digest some of that?
Yeah, a little bit. It's still a little confusing. I think a lot of people are confused about it when it comes out that you're opting out and you're like, never mind. It's hard to know like what was said. There's only a few options of what could have been said in that text/call. Oh yeah, you're opting out. Well, see ya. And then whoa. I thought we were all going to be on the same page here. I just wanted to. I feel like I've earned that escalation in my contract, and they're just like, we need to get Juan Soto. So I don't know what to tell you. And that's kind of what it came to, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit, because Garrett's been there for a while. It's very, very public that he's been a huge Yankees fan for his whole life. It's where he wants to be. There is leverage for the team there, and if they just said, "Hey, man, we want to get Juan Soto back. We need to re-sign him," and he was like, all right, I take it back. Scott, we're not doing it. Unfortunately, when it comes to bargaining power, not just for Garrett, for all of the other agents or all the other players that Scott represents, not a great look to just completely walk it back the moment you get pressure on it, because that's what it's supposed to. That's what the opt-out's for. You're supposed to make the decision and say, I'm putting pressure on this team, and in order, if you're not willing to do that, then don't opt out. So it was a little interesting to me. The narrative is a little bit like what happened here. It doesn't seem like a very strong place to talk from. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for like being like, all right, I don't want to cause any. I'm cool. Like 36 million's enough, but like maybe don't opt out first and just be okay with that. Knowing that Soto needs to happen. So I don't see how there was miscommunication. I feel like all this stuff was kind of pretty plainly laid out and pretty easy to to see coming. So it was weird. It was weird for sure.
Yeah, it was weird. And I think you're spot on Cole. Like, ultimately, you have to be able to say, I'm leaving if this doesn't work out, right? Like, you can be friends, you can talk, you can be a free agent. But if he really loves it there, he doesn't want to move from his house in Connecticut, the whole deal, then you can't push it the same way. There were a couple trolls when we talked about it the other day that were like, you're being too player friendly. I was like, all I said was, I don't think he wants to leave. I don't think that's player friendly. I think that's team friendly. But yeah, I know. Whatever. It's living in my head rent free, I guess, that I had to get it out for 20 seconds here. But anyway, we'll talk to a player who we're about to be friendly with, Matt McLain of the Reds. Here we go. Matt McLain of the Reds joining us right now from the Arizona Fall League. Matt, great to have you on, man. How's everything going?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me. Things are going good. Fall League's going. Happy to be back playing after, not playing at all this year. So I'm stoked.
What's it been like for you? And how did you have this in the plans for a while that you were like, okay, through my recovery, I'm going to try to make it back for the season. But if not, I still want to play so I can feel like in 2024, I logged significant time, right, in a place that's got pro players.
Yeah. I was either going to go to winter ball or here. And I think rehabbing, technically not playing at all. Maybe if I played a little bit, said I was healthy, I could go to winter ball. But I think, not playing at all. The fall league was a little bit better for me right now. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to play anywhere. Like either one was good. It was going to work out. It happened to be, I'm in the fall league now and things are going well.
Where in winter ball were you going to go?
The Gigantes in the DR. I had spoke to.
No, you got to go to the Aguilas. The Gigantes, they have all the power goes out. You're out in the middle of the rice field. You got to go. Tell them if after you're done in the fall league playing with all the babies, go after Thanksgiving and go. Tell them you want to go play for the Aguilas Cibaeñas. They're the yellow team. They're like the Yankees of the Dominican Republic.
All right. Well, there's a couple Reds players on that team, so I think that was the plan.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the pipeline.
There's some coaches over there, front office guys over there. So like that was the plan. Yeah,
it's a blast. Like I think, yeah.
Everyone says it's like everyone's like, dude, you gotta go. And then I had spoke with my agent Boris about it, and he's like, to rehab and to not play your first games over there. I don't know if you want that, especially with the complex being here in Goodyear, to have access to the trainers if you need them, if anything pops up. I think to start, that was a better decision.
Okay. I can appreciate that. I think everybody should play winter ball at least one time because it is an epic environment, especially as players, big leaguers who haven't been in the playoffs yet. Like you go and you understand the feeling of like, who cares if I went 0 for 4? I got 2 guys over on great at-bats. I build up the pitch count on somebody, and then they're bringing in in winter ball, they'll like triple barrel guys. They'll have a lefty on the mound, a righty on the mound, another lefty like awesome to get ready. So anyway, that was my winter ball diatribe. How is that shoulder feeling? How is it feeling? And is it feeling like you thought it would when you went into your surgery? And everybody here, we even said it on the show, we're like, shoulders, scary. It's not like an elbow. It's not like a knee or a hip or something like that. Like shoulders. Are you feeling like you thought it was supposed to feel, or are you better than that?
I think that I'm better than that. Like when I started to play every day, it started to get sore. And then, just staying on my like little exercises that they have you doing, like rehab stuff wise, it felt good. But like through the whole rehab process, it felt good. I mean, I was ready to go until I messed up like a rib, and then that was that. But like it feels good. Like after playing every day for like 2 weeks here, it started to get sore. There's like waves where it's like a couple days in a row where it's sore, and then it's fine. But I think after this offseason, I mean, they had told me, Dr. Eltrosh told me, you're going to have to stay on your stuff for like a calendar year, pretty hard every single day to like get it 100%. But I mean, it feels almost normal. like I never had it almost, which I didn't expect that, but to have it work out like that is cool. But I got a lot of work to do on it still.
It's great to hear. It feels good, especially like it never happened. There's very few surgeries that you can say feel that way. So, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Moving forward into the 2025 season, say we go into the spring training fully healthy, ready to go. What would you consider? What would a great, I guess, sophomore season, because it'll be technically your full season. What would you consider a great sophomore season? What are your goals going into the next year, especially after all?
I mean, as a team, like I want to be in the playoffs. Obviously, I want to be a big part of that. I don't necessarily put I don't like to put numbers on seasons, because then it's like you're always looking at numbers, fighting for numbers, and it just usually never works out like that. So I just want to be better than the year I was before. Like there's certain things in 23, obviously not 24. I want to be better in every single aspect, not necessarily numbers wise, but more so the fact that like I want to have a higher barrel percentage. I want to hammer more mistakes in the middle of the zone, and walk more, strike out less, make less errors, score more runs, stuff like that. When it comes to like the average, the OPS, the homers and stuff, I don't like to chase that. It doesn't work out for me personally.
All right, well, let's talk about numbers then, because I know a player who's going to be a Hall of Famer who had a pretty catastrophic injury after winning Rookie of the Year. I know you didn't win Rookie of the Year. I thought you should have been higher in Rookie of the Year voting, but we're not going to discuss that right now. You had an unbelievable rookie year. I think you are one of the more underrated players, and I think the Reds' record this year really reflected that they didn't have you out there this year. And that's my opinion. I'm not asking you to comment on that. Have the Reds. Uh-oh, you didn't move at all. They probably are trying to change.
Gotta wave your hand. Gotta wave your hand, man.
Yeah.
They're saving
motion.
There you go.
There
They're saving electricity. They're saving electricity at Reds game. That was good year.
Dodgers actually.
Oh, you're out at the Dodgers. They're not saving any electricity.
Yeah.
Gotta pay Shohei. Can't pay for electricity.
Yeah, can't pay for Matt McLain.
He's in Glendale. He's a desert dog, Kratz.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's right. That's my bad. I was thinking rehab, all that stuff. So I'll get to it. Saving money. Have the Reds approached you about an extension?
No, they have not. No.
Would you want them to, in the state that you're in? Because my buddy got approached. My buddy got approached when he had a pretty catastrophic injury, and he ended up getting a small contract offer, played the next year, did unbelievable, and got a large contract offer. Would you want them to approach you? Because to me, I think you are the heartbeat of that team. Obviously, I'm a big Matt McLain fan.
I mean, personally, right now, I don't think it would make sense for either side, because, like you said, it would be small and it wouldn't make sense for them, honestly. I mean, I was hurt all last year. And even at the end of 23, I had the oblique at the very end of the year. So I don't think it would make sense for either side at this specific moment. But that's, yeah, I don't know.
But he would love it.
Yeah, of course. Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone
everyone
would like
would.
that, but it's a business, and I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, and you got time, but that's a good answer. And my follow-up, and just while we're on that topic, is what about your teammate Elly De La Cruz in the season that he just put together? Do you think that he's someone that, obviously the Reds are interested in keeping him long-term, but do you think that there's a possibility that they figure something out there? And, how have your conversations been like with him when, you were rehabbing and all of that, but obviously watching him do his thing and chase 100 stolen bases? Did you at least give him crap that he didn't make it to that number?
No, I just told him, I go, dude, like, great year. You made great adjustments. And like the way that he went about it, like everyone saw it in spring training, like the attention to detail in his work and stuff. He brought to a whole nother level from day one. And then obviously I wasn't really there all year, but I heard he was just getting after it every day, making little adjustments throughout the year. But it was great to see him make that jump, because we need it as a team. Like, he's our guy, and we need him.
Yeah. I mean, he made quite the jump from one year to the next. How tough was it for you to watch this team? I mean, I'm like Kratz, Matt. I've been, I was a big fan when I saw your rookie year. We are in Cincinnati usually a few times a year to do shows, so we cover the Reds pretty closely, especially for a national show. And I mean, I can tell you this, but I originally, we do our season predictions, and I was like, oh, I got the Reds to win the division. And then when you went down, I took you guys off as the team to win the division. It's just, that's what I did. So for you, watching from the outside, what was your evaluation of the team? What did you like? What did you not like? And how tough was it to watch on the sidelines after the season that you had put together as a rookie?
It's just tough to watch. The team struggle at times. There was obviously good. The pitching was good. I mean, everyone had their moments, but I think as a whole, everyone was kind of disappointed on how the year went as a team. And it's just tough to watch, like being kind of helpless, going through that rehab in Arizona every day, watching it on the TVs, and it's just like, dang, like I wish I was there to play and help the team win, because after coming off of 23 where we almost made the playoffs, and then everyone's hopes were up in 24, and then just kind of never really put it all together for a long stretch. I think that was the biggest thing was pitching was here and then the hitting wasn't, and then vice versa. And it's tough to play a season that way. And then guys just not being healthy, that's never fun and never helps a team.
Do you play cards? Like, do you play cards, money for cards and like card games like that?
Not on the planes, but at the casino. I played once and I lost like $1,000.
And you're like, and you're done with that then?
Nope.
Well, no, I would do it. It's just I don't like to learn games. Like if I'm not good at it, I'm not going to play it.
Well, your new manager, Terry Francona, loves all that stuff. He loves all that. He's like a team that plays together wins together. He says all these things. Have you talked to him? And has he mentioned being in his underwear while you were talking to him? Because he loves to mention that he's just sitting around in his drawers.
No, not to me. Yes, he came out here for a whole week. So I got to talk to him a good amount, but no, we didn't talk about him in his underwear yet.
Okay,
what did you talk about?
It'll be coming. What did you guys talk about?
Yeah, we talked about me, and we talked about him. We really talked about my shoulder at the time, and just how the rehab process was going. He was trying to catch up and get a feel for me, and then I was just trying to connect and talk to him. We got a little Big 10 or Big 12, whatever it is, connection now, U of A and UCLA. So we had talked about that a little bit. But yeah, no, he's great. Obviously, he's a legend, and everyone speaks very highly of him. So I'm pumped.
Hey, Matt, were you surprised when you saw the news? Just because, he stepped away from the game. I mean, I think most people had a feeling he was going to come back, but not necessarily, a year later. But he's such a baseball lifer. But not only do you see, Tito's back in the game, you're like, oh, damn, he's managing the Reds.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was pumped. I was stoked. I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, they parted ways with David. He was great. And then I didn't know who the candidates were, but then when I saw him, I got the ESPN notification. I was like, oh, that's sick. And then next day he called me. He called everyone on the team, but it was cool to hear from him right away, because that was obviously one of the things that he wanted, to make a point to connect with the players right away. So I think that was cool, and a lot of us appreciate that.
Matt, I've got a Arizona Fall League question for you. I know the Home Run Derby's Friday, the Fall Stars game is Saturday. I love the Arizona Fall League. I've called many games out there, including the Fall Stars game for a number of years. I've retired from that. I too was like, all right, I did that for a while, but we love having the guys on. So my question for you is, you played a full season in the big leagues as a well above average player. You had a really good rookie year, as we're talking about, right? How much does that play into Arizona Fall League conversations? I'm sure there are many guys that you're playing with out there who are good prospects. Are you popular out there, getting a lot of questions and people looking up to you because you've already got a lot of dirt in your spikes compared to them?
I think that, I don't have that much dirt, but
compared to them,
there are guys. What? Yes, yeah.
Compared to
I guess
them,
so.
yeah.
Yes. But no, there's guys that want to talk, and then there's guys that don't. But I do not big league anybody. I think that's one of the things that I think that some of them expected. But I just act like another guy, like I'm in the league on the team, like how I did in 2022. But there's guys that, want to talk hitting, want to talk, playing every day. Just basic things like that. Just questions about, everyone wants to know, oh, who's the nastiest guy you faced? What's it like? Stuff like that. Like, how much better is the stuff here than in the big leagues? Like, that's the most common question.
I always love joking about big leaguing guys. I've got 193 hits in the big leagues. What's one hit in the fall league? And they're like, you're not good. So a big league joke is always fun, but not big leaguing somebody. We don't even hit that much on this show. Anyway, I got three.
Yeah.
I got two quick hitter questions for you. All right, you ready?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Who do you work out with the most in the off season? Teammates, friends?
My brothers. We hit at ASU a lot.
Are they jacked like you?
Not as jacked as me. No.
Are they players?
know
Are they
that? Are
older,
they-
younger?
Yeah. So Sean is with the Dodgers. Sean's in this league on the team, and then Nick just
Okay.
got drafted by the White Sox this
But
year.
they're not as big as you? They're not as big as you?
No, I'm actually the most jacked, but they are both bigger than me. Yes.
Okay, so they got the height, you got the chiseled body. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Is there anywhere you're excited? Because we're talking about the off season right now. Anywhere you're excited to travel to besides the Dominican to go play for the Aguilas?
I don't have any plans. I'm not a big traveler. I'm going to play golf here in Arizona, and I'm going to work out, and that's about it.
Who will you golf with?
My brothers. And any other guys out in Arizona. Some of the ASU guys who played there I'm friends with. Some of the UCLA guys come out to stay with me. I'll golf with whoever, but mostly my brothers.
That's awesome, man. Well, we got to get the
Yeah.
McLains all to the show. I'm sure that's been talked about plenty. Not our show, to the show. All three would be really cool. So obviously we're all rooting for that. I mean, you see brothers sometimes, like we've spoken to the Palacios brothers, a few times, but three brothers in the league at the same time, I don't think that happens very often.
Nah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, well, we'll keep track of it. And awesome to have you on here, man. Really appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us, and keep it up out there in the fall league, and we'll catch you in spring training.
For sure. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Matt. Matt McLain,
All right.
Cincinnati Reds, out there in the fall league. Make sure you check out the Derby and the Fall Stars game this weekend. It's an awesome league, especially if you're out there. Go. All right, let's do this. BetMGM Futures, American League East. Who's winning next year? And also, who do you like from a value perspective? Like, Kratz, you see something on the board that stands out to you? I mean, we usually go through this. Like, sure, if you think that the Yankees are just an absolute lock, first of all, I think you're crazy because the AL East is pretty competitive, but there's just not great value there, Kratz. So where is their value?
I think the value is in the Blue Jays. I think the value is in the Blue Jays because it's at 725. I thought the Rays, maybe. The Red Sox would have to make me want to chase that. I just feel like every year we can't be wrong with the Blue Jays. The fact that they have somebody who can win a batting title. They have an MVP candidate in the lineup. So to me, with their rotation too, and they always have, especially today, November 7th, today, they have so much financial resources that if you're telling me what team improves the most in the offseason, because if the Yankees sign Juan Soto back, they're not improving. They're just running it back with essentially the same team, minus Glaber, minus Verdugo. They have other holes to fill, but they're just trying to run their same team back. There's a team that can improve with their finances that doesn't do enough. It's the Blue Jays. And I like plus 725.
Anything you like on there, Trevor?
Just to be contrarian, I'll go Red Sox because I feel like they every time they are not as good as they are historically good, the next year they're good. So this year, I think they were better than we thought they would be. They faded towards the end, but they always have resources. They could add a bat and add a starting pitcher that really change the way things are. And then they got the coaching staff. They're sticking with the same guys. It's another year of Bailey and Breslow there. I think that plus 700 is a pretty good payout for a team that's never really out of it. So, especially if they go and get Snell or Fried. So I agree. I like that.
Yeah, I think there's heat on the organization to do more. I think there's more heat on them than Toronto. And I know they're not spending like they used to, but there's some room to spend. Anyway, first bet offer, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Use the code FOUL. If you do not win that first bet, that's where you get up to $1,500 back, depending on how much you spend. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Orioles win the division.
Same.
Spreading rumors. So John Heyman said the Blue Jays are open to moving Vladdy Jr. from first to third, which could potentially open up a spot for Pete Alonso. I don't remember a week in my MLB media career where there have been this many conversations and reports about position changes. I know, Boris Camp said Bregman would move positions. Adames would move positions as a free agent. We just talked about Betts and Contreras, and now here we go with Vladdy Jr. I liked a lot of these. This one I hate, Trevor. Vladdy Jr. is not a third baseman. So let's kick it to the pitcher first, who would have to see him move from one side to the other. This is not a knock on him. He had an insanely good year at the plate, too. Now we're going to give him that challenge back? I'm like, I actually think it's a BS. It's not on Heyman. I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we've seen that. We've seen that movie. Like, why do we want to watch that movie again? We were trying to. Who was it? They had Smoke over there first, and then they needed him to get out of the way so that they could put him over there because Smoke couldn't go anywhere else. Like they were trying to move other guys out of the way to get him there. Now we want to move him out of the way even after his best hitting season. Like, just take the W where you have one. But then again, Pete has to play first. So if you want to get Pete, you got to put him at first base. And where else do you put? Like, are you just going to DH flip flop him? You could do that, but you can't count on that either. So I understand that it might be the only other option if Pete Alonso is the guy you want to go get. And I think people forget, especially with how it's been going lately for them. Toronto Blue Jays got money. They're usually in on these things, on a lot of these conversations, and they haven't been lately because we just don't know what's going on with Vladdy and Bo Bichette. So, like, we just don't know. Is this the core? They're going to go. Is this the core? They're going to go. What are we going to do? So, I think this is a signal that, like, Vladdy is part of this going forward. We're not going to put him on we're going to give him to another team. So if you have to, it's not ideal. And third base is just something you really need. One of your best defender needs to be at third base. I think people have been some teams have been exposed by this in recent years, and he profiles better as a first baseman. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Pete Alonso is one of those bats that if you can get him, they're just going to get another bopping bat at first base. Just doesn't come around very often. So I don't love it, but if you have to, don't do it unless Pete's coming. If it's, if you're trying to get like a Christian Walker or, Goldschmidt, we're not moving him for Goldie, So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
This is the exact opposite when we were talking about the Dodgers moving Mookie back to second base, move back to the infield. You want to make the best team you can possibly make. And the Blue Jays should know better. Maybe some teams have never seen like elite third base defense, gold at third base. They saw Matt Chapman. They're essentially one season removed from Matt Chapman at third base in Toronto, and what that did for their pitching staff, what that did for their run prevention. You can't just throw anybody over at third, just like you can't throw anybody at first. He's already learned the position. I get it. He's got a 166 OPS plus. He smashes. Don't find value in Alonso at first and Vladdy at third. Don't do it. Unless you're sitting there going, hey, this is our long-term plan. We're going to extend him. We're going to play him at third base, and we think his defense is great, which it's not. And that's okay that it's not, because I think he's done well at first base. But third is such a valuable position. Don't do that.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't rank well at first base, but I'm trying to dig up some old StatCast numbers.
But those numbers are way, way more diminished at first base. Do you need a good first baseman? Absolutely you do. Would Bo have less errors? Yes. Bo doesn't have a ton of range, and his errant throws when you don't have the ability to make plays, it's helped by a first baseman. But if you're bringing in Pete Alonso, you're not bringing in a dude that just absolutely picks it at first base.
Yeah, and he was minus 15 run value on StatCast outs above average when he was getting third base time in 2019. Like, it's just, I don't get it. Don't do that.
By the way,
and at first he's probably going to be like even some Gold Glove first basemen. Yeah. The run prevention value is not there if that's how you're looking at it. Like Christian Walker's run prevention is not through the roof. Mm-hmm. First base is about doing what you can, staying in your lane, catching the ball, flipping it to first, covering when you need to, all that stuff.
I actually believe, though, just to add this in here, Pete actually did lead the league, the major leagues this year in picks in the dirt. Oh. So he had one of the best picks. The thing is, though, it's range, it's making the play right to left, it's knocking balls down, it's keeping them in front, not letting them get it out. Those are the things that he struggles with a little bit. But picks, he's actually good at the pick part. It's just the other things that he's not as good at. So,
and teammates love picks. I'll tell you that. That's a T-shirt right there.
Take it like a boogie.
Talk about that today. But let me ask you, since we're talking about the difference between the toilets in Japan and U.S., what about the baseballs? Did you notice a difference in the baseballs? The stickier, are they smaller? When you picked one up for the first time, did you say, man, this is just doesn't feel the same?
Definitely a little more tacky, I would say, but not like overwhelming. You know how you get some big league balls and they just kind of feel like a smooth rock, and you're like, man, this is going to slip out. I never kind of had that feeling with those balls. Maybe the seam's a little bit higher. Definitely more dead hitting the ball. I would say that. But that's, I think, kind of a new thing Tyler had said about, 2 years ago last year, the ball kind of wasn't as great to hit there. So I don't know if that's just kind of something they're messing with. But yeah, I mean, I think the pitchers that were on our team really like the ball. Obviously, it's a little bit different. And the pitching is just so different that I think it kind of lends to that ball a little bit. I mean, maybe the radar gun isn't as blown up as much, but heaters have like incredible spin rate, and they come out from a different angle than the U.S. I mean, it's obviously not everyone's 6'6" over there and throwing downhill and 100. It's kind of the 6'1" and just kind of ride ball at the top. Splitter's obviously the equalizer, which probably gets some help from that ball too with the bigger seams. But it's the baseball itself definitely different, but not like an overwhelming change that I think you would have to accommodate to.
Shuto. What was it? Shuto and Mr. Baseball? The Shuto. Like Tom Selleck couldn't hit the Shuto.
Splitter?
That's what I'm assuming it was. It wasn't the gyro ball that Daisuke threw up there that you could whack.
True.
Oh, they got they have 10 different names for every pitch. A shoot is like a two-seamer that doesn't drop. A two-seamer goes like this. The splitter fork is the same as the two-seamer to me, maybe a little bit slower. I actually sent Judge a pie chart of a guy we were facing over there that day. I think there's 9 pitches, and I was like, I don't think there's enough fingers for him to put down.
Welcome to Slap Hands. Kratz hats, what do you have?
Team that's going to get Max Fried.
Nice. Nice and simple. I like that. That's actually your shortest ever explanation for Kratz hats. And for anyone that's listening on the podcast later on, it's the Red Sox. That's his choice. By the way, Trevor, do you like some of the new animations we have going into segments? I feel like you're seeing some new stuff. I'm liking your reaction. Like the facial expressions.
I'm getting some ideas. Yeah. Very good job.
Mayday ideas.
Yeah.
Yes.
All kinds of ideas.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Well, that's our show. Tomorrow on the guest list, we have Joe Pompliano, who's like a business guy. We're going to talk to him about really all the teams, but he wrote an article recently about the Dodgers that kind of sparked it. And he actually included us in the article. So then I was like, hey, you should come on the show. So that is how guest booking works. And we're getting Colin McHugh next week. And Perry Managian is going to come on next week on Monday. We are excited to talk to him about where the Angels are at. And there's someone else that we're talking to right now that's on the guest list, because I know people always ask when. Also, people want to know sometimes when Trevor's on. And my answer to you is follow us on socials. Because sometimes we book this stuff a week or two in advance, and sometimes we don't. So I'm just being, as we can here on these shows, Trevor, I can just tell everyone, like, sometimes we book a guest 5 minutes before. Sometimes we book a host an hour before. Thus is life, especially as a new dad.
Yep.
Yeah. Happy nap time.
Yeah, exactly. Happy nap time. Thanks, everyone. Oh, Paul Stewald's joining us next week as well. He's a free agent. We're back tomorrow. Krasinski's on tomorrow. He's off today. He was traveling, so he'll be back in the fold for tomorrow's show, and we will see everyone then, as we do every single weekday, 1 to 3 Eastern on TV and on YouTube. Bye.